So last week I explained what would happen if Goku was the Legendary Super Saiyan, or what I called having Broly's potential later in that video, and why it really wouldn't work out for crafting a story. But another character does fit here perfectly: the Saiyan Prince Vegeta. You see, Vegeta having an abnormally high power level was something expected as the child of the king, and him being 5 years older than Goku puts him off-world at the time of Planet Vegeta's destruction, just like in the original story. While this base power increase would be notable, it actually wouldn't mean Vegeta has access to Broly's full-powered Super Saiyan form immediately. As a quick reminder, I explained in my last video how canon Broly's transformations work, and how they're different than the normal Super Saiyan forms. If you want more details, go there, but regardless, just know that he can't transform immediately. So the story actually goes unchanged from this point, besides Vegeta being stronger than in canon, and Broly being on Planet Vegeta when it blows up, since Vegeta is the one with his mutation now, not Broly. From here, we can fast forward to the Saiyan Saga. The fight against Raditz, and even the initial fight with Nappa don't change much. So, our story actually begins in the wasteland. Before we get into that though, only 20% of the people who watch these videos are actually subscribed, so hit that sub button if you haven't yet. Also, a side note, I know Salad Saiyan already did this topic. I double checked with him to make sure I had the go-ahead to do this topic as well. Regardless, I will have a link to his video in the description if you're interested on his take of this story. I'm sure it's quite different than mine. Back to the story, the two Saiyans face each other down, the elite Saiyan Prince and the low-born Saiyan sent to Earth. One believes in hard work, the other believes in natural-born talent above all else. Notably here, Vegeta is quite a bit stronger than the original. His power level fluctuates like Broly's does, but generally it sits in the 25,000 range. It would be much higher had the Saiyan Prince trained, but unlike Paragus trying to create the weapon of his revenge by training his son, Vegeta believes in the Saiyan ideal that power is determined at birth. No amount of training or hard work can change your place in this universe. Because of his faulty ideals, Vegeta is still overpowered by Goku's Kaioken x4 Kamehameha, and is forced to reduce his base power to create an artificial moon and become an Ozaru. A net positive power increase, but not as strong as he would be as a full-power Ozaru under real moonlight. Interestingly here, Vegeta still gets his tail cut off by Yajirobe. While this was a good thing originally, all it does here is enrage Vegeta. His power begins to skyrocket as rage engulfs his senses. Goku can't move, and the others are unable to do anything. In his rage, Vegeta takes the remote to his ship out of his pocket and calls his pod to himself. With his power at its peak, a staggering 40,000, Vegeta destroys the Earth and gets into his pod. Angry he had to waste his time, and that he'd lost his tail to beings far weaker than himself. Vegeta heads off the planet to recover before he heads to Planet Namek, as his quest for the Dragon Balls had only begun after all. From here, things begin to line up with the original story for a little bit, with the exception of Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma heading to Namek, since they can't do that because they're dead. Shocking, I know. Vegeta, on the other hand, still needs to get healed after his battle on Earth, and while he's not as damaged as in the original story, it's hard to be sure how much time that'd actually save him, so let's just assume it's around the same. After this, Vegeta bumps into Kui, hears Frieza is going after the Dragon Balls as well, and heads to Planet Namek in a desperate pursuit. Once we reach Namek, that's where the story begins to really pick up. Kui followed Vegeta, knowing that he probably wasn't enough to beat him on his own, so he teams up with Dodoria once he gets to Namek to try and take care of the Saiyan Prince. The issue is, Vegeta got a Zenkai on Earth, was already stronger than Dodoria by himself, and knows how to suppress his ki thanks to his experience with battling the Z-Fighters. This means that the Saiyan Prince manhandles both of them with ease, and he's barely using any of his newly acquired Zenkai power. The ability to sense and conceal ki that he learned from the Earthlings is being used to his complete advantage here, and he'll continue to do so. Vegeta's plan is to only show Frieza enough power to keep him level-headed and to stop him from engaging with Vegeta himself. And this plan works flawlessly. Zarbon informs Frieza that Vegeta has killed Kui and Dodoria with a power level of 27,000. But Frieza tells Zarbon not to worry, as that's not a power beyond Zarbon's own. Vegeta will be taken care of in due time. This of course leads to the attack against Elder Muri's village and the destruction of all of Frieza's scouters, effectively halting their ability to locate Dragon Balls for the time being. Vegeta, having brought his own scouter to monitor Frieza and his men, overhears the destruction happening, so he knows he can move freely now. Quickly, the Saiyan Prince destroys his scouter so it may not be used against him, and he begins to head towards a group of relatively high key signatures, which must be an undiscovered Namekian village. Without all 7 Dragon Balls, Frieza stands no chance of granting his wish, which gives Vegeta the advantage even if he only has 1 Dragon Ball himself. Frieza won't know where Vegeta's is, while Vegeta knows exactly where Frieza's are. Eventually, Vegeta runs into Zarbon as they are both hunting for the Namekian villages, but this is far more similar to his second encounter with the transforming servant of Frieza, as Vegeta has a power level of over 50,000 at this point, and is able to easily defeat Zarbon, growing his power even further in the process as he starts to understand his own potential more and more every time he fights. However, Vegeta didn't expect what was coming next. Before Zarbon was defeated, Frieza had called in new scouters to be delivered, but with Vegeta's presence unsettling him, just like in the original story, Frieza orders the Ginyu Force to deliver the scouters. This puts a hindrance on Vegeta's plans, as once the scouters arrive, it's only a matter of time before the Ginyu Force finds the Saiyan Prince. However, due to their egos and them not knowing Vegeta is suppressed, they still take turns fighting him. Vegeta blasts away Goldo before he can even attempt to freeze time. Next up is Recoome, who gives Vegeta a bit more of a run for his money. However, Vegeta's growing battle power overtakes the gap between them rather quickly, which of course leads to his victory. With a power level of almost 80,000 now, both Jace and Birder decide to take him on together, but it's just no use. They can't so much as touch him. But that's a bit of a problem for Vegeta as well, who knows what awaits him if he battles Ginyu with his current power level. After beating Jace and Birder, Ginyu steps up to face the Saiyan Prince, who has no choice but to fight. His power level isn't up to Ginyu's level, and that leaves him on the losing foot from the beginning. There's just nothing Vegeta can do, and the moment that the final blast seems like it's about to be delivered, Vegeta changes. Ginyu's scouter begins to go off as Vegeta's power begins to rise. In a moment of sheer desperation, just like Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly did, Vegeta activates the Ikari form and grows 10 times stronger than he was before. His power level of 80,000 quickly becomes 800,000, and with the form activated, his growth is only just beginning. Ginyu realizes what's about to happen to him, so he tries to begin a body change, but he's just too slow. Vegeta blitzes and destroys Ginyu before the word could even leave his mouth. And with that, the Ginyu Force is finished. Vegeta realizes that his transformed state is the best chance he has to defeat Frieza, so he immediately heads to the Emperor's location, boldly challenging him with his newfound power, which at this point has already grown to over 900,000. The insane Broly-like potential he has isn't stopping so long as he continues to battle and doesn't drop this transformation. Frieza tries to fight in his first form, but is easily overwhelmed by Vegeta. The Emperor then transforms into his second form, but at this point, Vegeta has surpassed the power level of 1 million himself, and is still only getting stronger. It just seems like Frieza is eternally on the back foot, with no hope of catching up, until he transforms into his final form. The power growth of his final form is insane. Even when not at 100% power, his power level is a terrifying 60 million. While Vegeta is over 3 million himself, there's just no way he can grow fast enough to beat Frieza at this point. As the Emperor of the Universe pummels the Saiyan Prince, he decides to tell him the truth. The truth that he destroyed the Saiyans, just as Vegeta suspected. The truth that he feared a Super Saiyan, and the truth that his fear was clearly misplaced. As Vegeta falls from the sky, he thinks of all the time he spent serving under Frieza's heel, the humiliation to himself, and the destruction of his pride. This desperation for revenge, the feeling that he'd never be good enough, was even enough to make him cry. The emotions completely overwhelm him, and he transforms into a Super Saiyan while in the Ikari form. Just like Broly, his pupils explode, and his muscles are still massively enlarged. He has stacked the Ikari and Super Saiyan forms. Together, Vegeta boasts a power level over 150 million. But it's growing even further, and it's growing fast. Frieza doesn't even have a chance to transform into his full powered form, as Vegeta mercilessly beats him until his life is extinguished. All the while growing stronger and stronger and surpassing any numerical power level value. With Frieza dead, Vegeta's rage eventually subsides. The target of that rage being eliminated causes it to eventually dissipate entirely. The Saiyan Prince passes out on planet Namek, exhausted from the constant fighting and the toll the power took on his body. When Vegeta wakes up, he pieces together everything that happened, eventually regaining enough of his memory that he realizes the Dragon Balls are his. Quickly, Vegeta dashes for Frieza's ship. Once inside, he searches for the Dragon Balls. However, he only finds perfectly spherical stones. The Grand Elder has died, and with him, the Dragon Balls have gone as well. Vegeta is further infuriated, but with his power and Frieza dead, there's no one who can oppose him for the rest of his life. Or so he thinks. Time passes from here. With no Earth, there's no androids or Cell to worry about. Vegeta has gone on to claim the remainder of Frieza's army, making the soldiers his own that will join, and eliminating the few who oppose him, including Frieza's father, King Cold. From here, Vegeta focuses on making the power he unlocked on Namek his own. Over time, he masters it, and even becomes stronger with it, until one day, over a decade after Frieza's defeat, Vegeta's soldiers are under attack. Mysteriously, and without a trace, they're all disappearing. After sending soldiers to investigate and having them not return, Vegeta realizes he has no choice but to take on this threat himself. What he finds are beings that are absorbing the energy directly from the bodies of his soldiers and the beings who live under his rule. The Saiyan Prince quickly transforms into his Ikari form and then Super Saiyan on top of it. With the power he's gained over the years, he easily takes out the two beings he's found, Yakon and Pui Pui, with ease. This catches the attention of Babidi, who was monitoring his minions. He now wants to absorb Vegeta's energy as well, but Dabura tells Babidi that the evil clearly radiating from Vegeta makes him a prime candidate for control. With Dabura, Buu, and this Vegeta person, their rule over the universe would be uncontestable. Babidi senses the evil radiating off of Vegeta's heart and knows Dabura is right, so he begins to cast the mind control spell. Vegeta begins to scream in anguish, trying to fight the power of the spell, but he might actually just be too weak to do so. That is, until Babidi unlocks Vegeta's potential like he has for all of his other minions. This happened in the original story with Majin Vegeta as well. The difference? Vegeta, of course, has Broly's potential in this story. While Vegeta only doing some limited training over the last decade has made him considerably stronger than his time on Namek, Babidi unlocking the potential he hadn't tapped into yet pushed him further beyond. Vegeta has gone beyond expected power at this point in the story. Much like Ikari Broly was able to evenly match Super Saiyan Blue Goku after gaining control over his own inner potential, Vegeta should be at least that strong in his Super Saiyan Ikari form. A notable side effect here is it actually pushes Vegeta to fully combine Super Saiyan and his Ikari form, and thus his hair turns green and his body grows even bigger. Vegeta is now using full power Super Saiyan, the final form Broly uses in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Babidi and Dabura go to Vegeta, thinking he's still on their side, but Vegeta has surpassed all expectations and rejects Babidi's control. Dabura notices and charges in, but an ant can't fight a man. So, like the insect he is compared to Vegeta, he's crushed into the dirt. Babidi is next, a single ki blast being more than enough to take him out. Vegeta's mind is going rampant. but he wills himself to control the power. His pride won't let himself become a mindless brute. He is the Saiyan Prince, and no power will take that away from him. Once he gets his senses back, Vegeta reverts to his base form and goes back to his ship. For now, his job is done, and with a new power to control, he needs to go train so he doesn't risk losing his senses again. Vegeta tells Berry Blue and Kikono to take over the Empire for a bit. He's going to his training planet. This planet is the sole place Vegeta trains to control his powers. It poses no risk to his army or his empire, and it has no life on it that he cares about either. Effectively, the planet is valueless, a frontier world called Vampa. Once Vegeta arrives on Vampa, he begins to train to control his new power. Something that may take longer than he wants it to, but he has no choice. He only got lucky to break Babidi's mind control, and if someone stronger had tried that, he'd be worse than dead. He'd be under someone's heel all over again. Vegeta decides to shake away the thought and gets to his training. 4 years of harsh training on Vampa until a change finally occurs. Vegeta is greeted on the supposedly desolate planet by none other than Beerus and Whis. You see, the two were looking for the Super Saiyan God, and tales of Vegeta's power have made their way from Whis' staff to Beerus' ears, and he's intrigued.
You haven't grown much since I last saw you, Prince. At the very least, your power has, I presume.
Vegeta can't understand why, but he feels like he knows Beerus. And that's when he remembers that Beerus is the man who humiliated his father. He treated King Vegeta like a servant, just as Frieza did. This is why Vegeta trained. He didn't want to be under anyone's heel ever again, but he can't use the power he tapped into 4 years ago. It's still too risky, so he wants to make sure he knows Beerus' intentions before attacking. So, Vegeta asks Beerus why he's here, and Beerus replies blatantly.
I'm in search of a being known as the Super Saiyan God, my greatest rival. If you have the power to entertain me, I'll spare your life. But if you don't...
Beerus raises his hand and forms a Hakai. Vegeta is immediately enraged at the God of Destruction looking down on him. So without hesitation, he transforms into his Ikari form, then Super Saiyan, and goes after Beerus. Beerus smiles as he realizes this will be more fun than he realized, and at this point, Vegeta's power is approaching Canon Broly's power. The two begin to fight, and Beerus is starting to become entertained.
You're impressive, Saiyan, but I know you have power beyond this. Holding back against me is a mistake if you hope to live.
Then, Beerus slams Vegeta into the ground, and the Saiyan Prince becomes enraged. He gets up and transforms further, turning into full-powered Super Saiyan once again, and to even his own amazement, he's able to control the power. Now, Vegeta is approaching Broly at his maximum power in Dragon Ball Super Broly, so this is truly a battle Beerus is enjoying. That is, until Vegeta begins to show signs of growing even stronger, and Beerus just can't let that happen. So, with everything he has, Beerus briefly uses his imperfect Ultra Instinct to dodge a single punch from Vegeta. He gets behind the Saiyan Prince and puts all of his power into a Hakai, erasing the Saiyan once and for all. Whis is shocked by Beerus' decision to kill Vegeta.
My lord, wouldn't your greatest rival be best kept alive? Don't be ridiculous, Whis. That Saiyan was neither god nor rival. He was a brute and a threat to my universe.
And a threat to you, my lord. Beerus snarls at the comment, but Whis is ultimately right.
Take us home, Whis. I have to give the Oracle Fish a piece of my mind, and then I'm taking another nap.
As you wish. So concludes the story of the legendary Super Saiyan Vegeta. While having Broly's potential makes Vegeta extremely formidable, the Saiyan Prince, who never learned to be good in the end, wouldn't be seen as fit to stay alive. An upstart who would cause Beerus more problems than joy, who must be eliminated for the good of the universe. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you so very much for watching.